Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, sir.
We can now start the second section about the literature review.
Literature overview. Yes, sir. So, what is actually expected when we write a paper under this section, literature review? So what a student or a scholar has to write down is basically the theory. He has to discuss about the theory, and beside theory he has also discussed about those concepts which he could not introduce in the introduction section, because the introduction section, which has to be very, I mean, it has to be smaller in size. So in that case, what we need to do is whatever which is not any concept or any construct which we could not, because of the space which for which the introduction is meant to. So in that case, if we are not able to discuss any concept, so that we need to discuss in the literature overview. Like, sir, because co-creation of value, this is the concept which we got from the service dominant logic. So we have discussed about the service dominant logic here, because that is the broader theory under which the co-creation of value falls. So we discussed about the service dominant logic under this section of literature review, and then we have to discuss about the theory. Is it one theory, or is it the integration of the two theories? Whatever it is, in the case it would differ from one paper to the other paper. So in our case, the theory was the theory of uniqueness, because when we talk about the consumer's need for differentiation, which means that they are looking for something which is unique. They are looking for an outcome in the form of the apparel designs. So they are looking for the designs which are unique, which are rare. Now, in this case, the theory of uniqueness was given by Sender in 1992, and then further, I mean, basically in Sender by Sender and Fromkin in 1977, but more description was given by Sender in 1992, theory of uniqueness. So, according to this theory talks about that when there is a need to feel different, when a customer wants to look different from other people, in that case, the self perception of uniqueness is undermined, and the need to feel different competes with other motives to protect and to enhance it. So what the sender talks about here is the consumers who are looking for a different product, they also want to protect the uniqueness of that product. They do not want to disclose the various sources. So that's why, they, because from, and now this theory of uniqueness, it actually supports our own objective, the objective of our study, because we say that uniqueness would come from the co-creation of value. Only when you are co-creating value, in that process only you can get something like a differentiated product, a very distinctive product. So theory of uniqueness also says that, if you want a uniqueness in your product, so in our case, if you are looking for something very unique designs, in that case, the consumer, if you, I read again, the need to feel different competes with other motives to protect and to enhance such uniqueness. So you want to protect the uniqueness and you want to enhance its uniqueness. So you don't want the others to follow. That imitation of the design is something which you are afraid of. You don't want others to imitate your designs. So that is the crux of theory of uniqueness. And I would also mention here, though the paper is quite dated now, Chima and Kekati, 2010, this paper appeared in Journal of Marketing. So they have used this theory, the theory of uniqueness, and they have talked about separately about the publicly owned products and the privately owned products. They say that when the customer is owning something which is privately owned, in that case they don't mind sharing with somebody. Like, it could be, maybe in our case it could be a, like something like LCD, or I mean, which is known to everybody. So we can always share the brand, or we can always share them from where we bought it, or it could be something, any other material which is privately owned by the consumers. But when you talk about something which is publicly owned means which is there for the display to the other people. In that case, we always try to maintain uniqueness, and in that case we may not share the name of the service provider, the source from where we have obtained that product, we got that product. So this is the crux of the theory of uniqueness also. even the Miller distinguished. So now, because I said that we also need to bring in, we also need to discuss those concepts which we could not reflect, which we could not, state clearly in the introduction. So here it is the need for differentiation. Consumers' need for differentiation we have measured through innovation differentiation and market differentiation. What is innovation differentiation? Innovation differentiation means, may it be with regard to the product, any innovation. So in our case, it is the innovation means the new designs of the apparels. It could be the innovation in the process also. It could be the innovation in the technology also. So in our case, it was the product innovation, that is the innovation in the designing of the apparels. So that is the innovation differentiation. Second is the market differentiation. Now, market differentiation, when you talk about, this is the image of the service provider, image, the reputation of the service provider, right? So when we say need for the differentiation, so in that case, it could be in the form of innovation differentiation, it could be in the form of market differentiation also. Which boutique should I contact? It would depend upon the boutique which is well known, the boutique which enjoys good reputation. So I would always try to contact that boutique. Is it so? So, and because of the innovation differentiation, they are known for bringing new designs. They are known for, for bringing, in the sense, for introducing the new designs. So because of this differentiation, then only, I would prefer, out of various boutiques which are available in a city, so I would prefer one or two based on the reputation which is being enjoyed by these boutiques. Now, in this case, what we have, because it is the literature review, so we need to state whatever our objective is and what the literature talks about it. So, in the last paragraph, we have written that if the potential consumer realizes that there is a large quantity of negative word of mouth or the absence of user generated information on a specific product, then trust is curtailed, which reduces the purchase intention. So, in this case, what we have, I mean, this is all from the literature only. What we have realized is that if a customer does not trust the service provider, if I do not trust my boutique owner, so which means that, I am under the impression that boutique, the person, that lady would share my design with her own customers, other customers also. In that case I would not spread positive words. So it is, what matters here is the trust which a service provider has built over a period of time. If the boutique could not build that trust among its lady consumers, so which means that, then that boutique has to prepare, the mind has to prepare, has to get ready for the negative words also. It is not only the negative words, that it could be no word of mouth also, I would say. But for sure there would be no positive words. Why? Because I want to maintain differentiation. I want that, my product should remain unique. I do not want others to imitate my designs. So in that case, it is the need for uniqueness which affects the word of mouth. It is your need, it is your desire, it is your desire to maintain uniqueness. Because of that, it would affect your word of mouth. It could be negative word of mouth, it could be no word of mouth also, but we are not sure whether it is no word of mouth or is it negative word of mouth. There is literature silent on this aspect of the research work. So then, the third section, we have discussed about the hypothesis development. If you do not have any questions, should I move, sir? Okay, so hypothesis development. So we developed three hypotheses. So as you know that, what matters is it is the literature, because for each and every hypothesis we have to provide a literature support, sir. So the very first hypothesis which we set up here is that co-creation of values positively significantly related to consumers' need for differentiated product. This is very very much established. So from the literature only you could see that, this is what is expected. So now, in this regard, sometimes the scholars, they ask me the question that what if you have mixed findings, or if suppose there are 10 studies which you have referred, which you have cited here for the hypothesis support. In that case, what if the 6 studies they support for the positive relationship, whereas there are 4 studies which talk about the negative relationship or insignificant relationship? So in that case, what is the practice which is being followed nowadays is that you set up two hypotheses, H1A, H1B. One is co-creation of values positively, significantly related to consumers' need for differentiated product. Second, H1B could be co-creation of values negatively, but significantly related to consumers' need for differentiated product. So this is how we can actually, and out of the two hypotheses, H1A and H1B, one would be supported automatically, the other would get rejected. So these hypotheses, so we set up, in this paper, we set up the three hypotheses. We formulated three hypotheses. This was the first hypothesis, and which is very much known to the scholars, to the academicians who are doing research in the area of co-creation of value. But the second is regarding the consumer's need for differentiation and word of mouth. Here, I mean, this is the main link which we have explored. So it is the theory of this is the need for uniqueness. You can see that the significance of differentiation is very much emphasized in the theory of consumer's need for uniqueness, which is grounded in the notion that a consumer's need for possessing differentiated products can actually predict his desire for distinction from others, because you want to look different. You do not want that, you do not want to be part of the crowd. So you want to look different through their ownership of premium products. So because these customers, they want to own premium products, so they want that, no other person should own or should possess these premium, such type of premium or unique or different, products. And this, the greater an individual's inclination to attain non-conformity and the more different they would like to be from others, the more a distinct image is considered essential. So this is, they want that, they should look unique, and they want that, because may it be because of their, because they consider it to be a status symbol. So they do not want that others should, they should they should compete neck to neck with them. So they want that, they something which is rare, which they possess is rare, unique. Consumers seek differentiation and they feel happy by owning something that others do not have, which may induce them to spread positive words, which may induce them to spread positive words. So, sir, because I tell you, we could not, despite the fact that we knew about it, that consumers' need for differentiated product would lead to either negative word of mouth or no word of mouth. Despite that fact, we could not state it that way. When you look into our hypothesis two, consumers' need for differentiated product is positively and significantly related. So we have written positively and significant, because majority of the literature says that if you are looking for a customized product, for a differentiated product, in that case, automatically you would spread positive words about the service provider. Why? Because of the satisfaction, the satisfaction which you would derive from the customized product, from a differentiated product, that would compel you to positively, to spread positive words about the service provider, to speak positively about that service provider. With regard to our third hypothesis, co-creation of value, consumers' need for differentiation, and word of mouth. So, in this case, sir, we have set up a hypothesis wherein we are talking about the mediation of consumers' need for differentiation. So, this is our third hypothesis, that the consumer's need for differentiated products mediates the co-creation of value and word of mouth relationship. And this consumer's need for differentiated product mediates in the sense, which means the direct link between co-creation of value and word of mouth is not that strong. The relationship is not that strong, which means that, there are other variables also which can intervene the relationship between the independent and the dependent variable. So I'll show you the model here. So this is value co-creation. Value co-creation we have measured by using these three dimensions. One is the perceived value in the co-creation, the value which you perceive in the co-creation. Second is the role clarity. You as a consumer, you know that your participation, how much you are willing to participate, and how much they are ready to, they're ready to entertain you in this co-creation process. So role clarity in the value co-creation, and also ability in the future value co-creation. How much do you feel yourself competent enough to create value in the future? So this is value co-creation, which leads to need for differentiation. Need for differentiation we have measured using two dimensions, the innovation differentiation and the market differentiation. And then both value co-creation and need for differentiation lead to word of mouth. So need for differentiation is basically is playing a role of a mediator here between value co-creation and word of mouth. Is it fine, sir? Any questions, sir?
Yes, ma'am. The constructs, are they second order constructs?
So in this case, the two constructs, the co-creation of value and the need for differentiation, these both are second order construct, where word of mouth is a first order construct, sir.
Okay. And both are reflective.
All, yes. Both value co-creation, need for differentiation, they are both are reflective constructs. Yes, sir.
It's clear now. Thank you.
Okay, sir. So then when we talk about the research method, so sir, for the scholars, for the researchers, what they need to understand is when you talk about the literature review and the hypothesis formulation, in the literature review, they need to discuss about the concepts. Here the constructs or the concepts, whatever you call about, from where those concepts actually originated. May not be in greater details, but something you need to talk, you need to discuss, because not necessary that the reader of my paper would have greater understanding of co-creation of value. So I need to discuss. So maybe in few lines, but or something which is related to these three main principal constructs, I need to discuss about these concepts and the constructs first. And then the second thing which is required here is the theory. The theory in which the theory or the theories in which your model is grounded, is premised, so that you need to discuss clearly. Theory is required. And then when we talk about the hypothesis formulation, most of the time the objections which we get from the reviewers is that that your this hypothesis actually does not originate from your literature support. So we have to be very careful that that one who reads your the background of your hypothesis should, before actually reading your hypothesis, he should have a clear idea about what would be your hypothesis before he reads your hypothesis, actual hypothesis. So I mean, we should always see that whatever we write, whatever support we provide to our hypothesis, so that support is sufficient and it is explicit, that or that the reader gets an idea, yeah, this is the hypothesis, or this hypothesis actually it emerges from the support which we have provided to it.
Right, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question here.
Yes, sir.
You have very clearly told that basically four things in the review of literature section is we should start with the theory, we should discuss about the constructs, then their relationship, relevant relationship, and then come along with the hypothesis. And finally, fifth one, you can have a model also. Now, some
Yes,
of the scholars, they get confused. They say that when we make a model, in one way, we are saying this is everything which has been done. So what is the novelty? Is that
Okay, yes.
understanding?
So, yes, sir. In our paper, it is better that before writing your hypothesis, before that's a subsection of the second section, in our case, it was the third section, that is hypothesis formulation. Where your literature review ends, it is better to give your theoretical or the conceptual model, the proposed model, some description regarding that model there itself. There you need to talk about any relationship which is new. Like in our case, we have shown it with the dotted lines, that co-creation of value would result into need for differentiated product, because literature says co-creation of value leads to customization.
Right.
Literature says co-creation of value leads to customization, but in our case we are not talking about customization only, we are going beyond customization, and we are saying need for differentiation. So that's why we have shown with the dotted line. So in that proposed model, what the scholar should do, that a very established I mean the link which is well established, so they can show it with the dark line. That is, a dark line can be shown for the well established relationship, but a dotted line means something which is new.
Ma'am, can you show your model, please?
Yeah, yes, sir. So you can see this dotted line.
Right.
Dotted line means value from relationship or the impact of value co-creation or need for differentiation. Customization is there, but when we talk about the need for differentiation, not necessarily that value co-creation would lead to need for differentiation always, but in
Right.
our, because it is a new context, it is a different context, I would say, not a new context, but it is a different context. Because of this context, we are saying that the customers, they are looking for differentiation in their products which they own. But in our case, sir, one thing more which was which was very, quite novel, was the link from need for differentiation to word of mouth. But if you would ask me that then why I have not shown the dotted lines here, I could not show. Why? Because if you remember my, the second hypothesis, I say it is positively and significantly related. I'm not saying something different here, sir.
Yes.
I'm not saying something different. That's why I could not show this line, as a dotted line.
Mm.
So in our case, what we have shown in the proposed model is the impact of value co-creation on need for differentiation. So that is important. So this is the new link. This is the new relationship which we are proposing. So this a scholar has to introduce this novelty, whatever novelty or whatever uniqueness is there in their model. This they have to explain very clearly at the end of the literature review, sir. They have to talk about the model.
Okay. Ma'am, just to add one point here, one of our friend, Professor Raja Shankran, he told that whenever you got an existing model, there are the four ways you can innovate. So one, whatever the dependent variable is there, you can always search for the new independent variables. The second, the
Yes.
independent variable themselves can have some predictors or independent variables. Likewise, the dependent variable can further lead to something else. There can be further outcome of that. And finally, in all these relationships, there can be some moderators or the mediators. So these are some very commonly,
Mediators.
yeah, four things. How can you
Yes,
get a new thing in a model? So that is also a worth
yes, sir.
discussing here.
Beautifully explained by you, sir. This is, I mean, because most of the time, whatever scholars they do is some, I mean, which is already there in the literature.
Absolutely.
How would you bring novelty in your study
Yes.
if there is no new relationship? If there
Hmm.
is no new relationship, and that is why now in this case, what we are doing is through this theory for theory of uniqueness, what we are doing is we are refuting the existing notion that satisfaction would always lead to positive word of mouth.
Absolutely.
This is what we have been reading since
Absolutely.
ages, that
Absolutely.
satisfaction leads to positive word of mouth.
Hmm.
Through this paper, we have refuted that theory that satisfaction does not necessarily always lead to positive
Hmm.
word of mouth.
Hmm.
It could be negative word
Ma'am,
of mouth
one more
also.
question. Should there be any active effort, like in the first section of introduction, you have given the problem and then gap and the objectives. And here, when we are defining this model, should there be any active effort to link that also here? That we have already said
So
there is a gap.
actually, because the literature review also, what we need to, I mean, at the end, when I say that you have to discuss your model at the end of the literature review, I mean to say you need to clearly bring in the research gap.
Hmm.
When I
Right.
say these are the dotted lines, means this is something which has been proposed but not been worked on, not
Absolutely.
being researched upon. So research gap, this model should be, it should emerge from your research gap only,
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
right, sir?
Very,
So
very
the
clear.
research gap should get reflected in your theoretical model.
Right. Very clear.
This is the outcome of your research gap. Your
Hmm.
model is the outcome of your research gap, sir.
Hmm. Ma'am, just one more point I would like to make here because the young scholars they often get confused. Can you just show your diagram once again, ma'am? Little higher side, complete diagram you can see. Yeah, ma'am. So here the scholar should not, though there is an arrow from these three predictors to value co-creation, but it's not like that. Generally, these days people write value co-creation on the box itself. So they should not
Yes, sir. Yes,
mistake
sir.
it as that this is a separate construct and three are there. It's a
Yeah.
second order.
That's right. That's right. I
Just,
agree with you. It
yeah,
should have been one block only, where value
one block
co-creation
only.
measured with the help of these three, and
Yes.
one block for need for differentiation measured
Yes.
with the help of market differentiation, innovation. I agree with you.
Because I
Yes,
remember,
yes,
ma'am, when we were learning, it took us a lot time to understand what is, second order, what is first order, and where the arrow. It's very confusing initially.
yes,
So,
yes.
but
I agree.
there are often, ma'am, in the paper we define and in the software there are differences. Sometimes people take some sort of freedom in defining in the paper in MS Word file. Software behaves differently, but in MS Word we
That's
are more open. We just talk conceptually.
yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
is
Now we
just to
can go with.
give an idea about yeah,
Absolutely.
yes, sir, the relationship between the constructs.
Right.
Yes, sir.
We can go to the research method, ma'am.
Yes, sir. So in research methodology, what is required is, we need to discuss about the context first. in the forefront we should discuss about the relevance of the context, because you have to establish the that on what basis you have chosen this context, this particular sector. So in our case, because we have chosen the boutiques, so we have considered them as the micro businesses. So why you have selected this particular context? So for that, something the scholars, they need to give in the very first paragraph. Like in this case, we have written that Mishra and Jain 2020 referred to the Make in India policy and discussed how the RBI and Small Industries Development Bank of India, they had taken initiatives to promote entrepreneurship across the country. Then, so I mean, from that support only, also we have written that we investigate the role played by consumers' need for differentiation in linking value co-creation with the consumer's word of mouth for micro businesses like boutique, an important segment of Indian textile and apparel industry, the market value of which was 106 US billion dollar in 2020 and was estimated to reach 190 US billion dollar by 2026 according to this particular source. So we argue that co-creation, so somewhere you have to establish the relevance of your sector. That is must. I mean, everybody should establish this. And then, sir, in this case, based on the reviews which we got from the reviewers, so they asked us to tell us about the various actors. Who are the actors in your research work? So in our case, the last paragraph, so actors, they were the boutique owners, the designers, the tailors, the consumers. And when we talk about the resource integration, because you need to state clearly when you talk about resource integration. So integration of what? Integration of time, money, and expertise. Then we talked about the service exchange also. So in case of service exchange, so it involves the exchange of creative ideas, thoughts, and value co-creation is the delivery of uniquely designed artifacts with positive word and repeat business, because this is what the literature says. So in this context, we advance the argument that the co-creation strategy is critical for designing unique apparel products. Apparel firms adopting the strategy, this is co-creation of value strategy, they have the advantage of direct involvement with the target consumers in product designing, tailoring the products to suit their specific needs, thereby differentiating themselves from the core competitors. So you need to establish. So you can see that under this subheading of the context, so we have given three, four paragraphs depending upon the literature. I mean, whatever source, whatever content you have to support your context. Then this next important thing which we need to talk about is the measures. So the study measures we need to talk about. So in this case, again, I would, because in the scale development in that particular session, we have already discussed in detail, but it is not that we need to discuss only, or I mean, it should be that, we should understand that this is what is required, but it should become a common practice for all of us also, sir. Like to judge the relevance and to ensure the appropriateness of the items, we invited the five independent marketing scholars from three universities and two management institutes to review and revise each item. So, so because this is already what we have already discussed in the scale development, but I would iterate again that this is the process which we should follow seriously, because if we want that the items should be relevant and items should pertain to that particular context, and finally if we want that the data collection should be correct to that extent, so what we need to do is we should be confident about each and every item which we have placed in our survey instrument. So in the final phase, to cross-check the meaningfulness of each item in the instrument and to gain confidence, so we pre-tested the instrument. So earlier we had face-to-face interviews with the consumers, and we pre-tested the instrument with 30 individuals in an upmarket neighborhood of, so we have written an Indian city only. And then in order to understand an individual's need for differentiation or product uniqueness as a significant motivator for co-production, we adopt three related factors. So there were three main constructs which are there in the model also: co-creation of value, consumers need for differentiated product, and word of mouth. And under this head measures, you need to clearly write down the sources from where the items they were generated. So we have clearly written those sources also. At the end, earlier we planned for 7 point scale, but we could not do it because our consumers, those ladies, they were the ladies. Consumers are the ladies, but they are not the working ladies. because they belong to an affluent community. So they don't, I mean, they are more interested in their kitty parties and other things. So they are not doing any job. So because of that, so because they could not understand, they could not differentiate between 6 and 7 point, between 1 and 2 point. That's why so we had to revert back to 5 point scale only. So we adopt a 5 point decay scale ranging from 5, which is strongly agree, to 1, that is strongly disagree. So these anchoring points they were given. So we normally we avoid any midpointer. So it is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which we provided in our instrument. Then next comes the data collection. So we discussed each and every item. So in this case, what we did, sir, in the final data collection, we contacted there is a very, I mean, well-known club in Jammu, in the Jammu region of J&K state. So we collected the final data from the female members of a very old and renowned club located in north region of India. This club is a members only club, so nobody else can go. So it's only the members of those club, they can only enter the club premises, which carries a mark of luxury and comfort, and charges a high membership fee that only the affluent segment of the society they can afford. The club provides facilities that can be accessed, enjoyed, and relished by the royal families only. So that's why, when I talked about the need for differentiated products, so only this segment can actually, they can afford also. They can afford to own such type of products. And then so we used the formula given by Burns and Bush, and we worked on the sample size. Sample size finally came out to be 210, and the population that time, when we planned for data collection, that time the total members were 1196. We employed systematic random sampling because we got the list of the members. So here I would like to again, I would like to focus upon the normally the practice which is being followed by the scholars nowadays. I would suggest them earlier 2 years we could understand because of the corona, that pandemic. So we could not, face to face contact was almost impossible at that point of time. But now the things, because of the new normal which has arrived now, so I think it is always better to switch to the offline mode of data collection only, not to the Google survey. Why? Because, sir, it is, you can very well imagine the plight of the data which we get, even despite the fact when we are contacting the customers in person. So what to talk about the Google Forms, the data which you would get through using the Google Forms. So it is, I mean, if we are actually serious about doing the research work, it is always better that, you should employ a probability sampling technique. It is always essential. We look for the shortcuts, but then at the end of the day, when we analyze the data, when we are looking for the reliability indicators, so we fail to establish the reliability, sir, in that case. So it is always better that, you should seriously look into it. If you can obtain the list of the population, it is always better to go for the probability sampling technique. So we administer the survey on a face-to-face basis because in India, like other countries in South Asia, has little history of research participation. That is not successful in India as well. Am I clear, sir? Online survey participation is not successful in India as well. Am I clear, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I have some few questions here, ma'am.
Yes,
Like, ma'am,
yes, sir,
you
please.
said in your way. First, I want to understand, ma'am, where from you get the population of 1196? Was it the
Yes,
membership
sir.
of the club?
Yes, sir. Membership of the club. So we got it from the office,
Okay.
from that office of the club. Yes, yes.
And
We got the list and with every detail also, detail of the member.
1196 female members were there.
Yeah, 1196. So only one family member has to enroll for the membership. Then the entire family
Okay,
becomes
we
part
got
of
there.
that member.
Right,
Yes, sir.
right,
Membership.
right,
Yes, sir.
right. And then you use this as systematic random sampling.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, you said you very beautifully explained why you use the 5 point scale. So likewise, I was just thinking that maybe in the Jammu, it's a very posh area, people know. But if somebody is doing this study, maybe in the rural setup, then is it okay to get it converted to the local language?
It is always better. Rather, I would suggest not to go for a questionnaire. There you go for a schedule, sir.
You will
You
use it.
replace your questionnaire with a schedule. This is what I have done because
Hmm,
my own PhD work, even the MPhil work, was on regional rural banks.
hmm.
And because I knew it that and I am not well versed with the Dogri language also. I cannot understand that. I cannot speak also. So for me, what was best was, whatever, in whatever way I could make them understand. So I preferred for schedule only.
Right. Right.
And I used to take my friend also along with me. So she used to tell them that this is the question, and then based on that, we used to pick the appropriate answer.
Okay. So, ma'am, in your case, it was very structured. There were some constructs were given. So, is it okay
Yes, sir.
to have some open-ended questions also in the questionnaire?
Yes, sir. We kept open-ended questions also for this, and I mean there is a list of 30 open-ended questions at the end, but which is not part of this paper, part
Okay.
of the study.
That's
Yes, it is
perfect.
part of the study that we had kept, those 30 open-ended questions.
Okay.
Yes, sir. But somehow we could not analyze and we could not bring those answers here.
Okay. That's
Yes, sir.
one problem. So it's very much clear. So in the next section, ma'am, we will discuss about the data analysis, future implication.
Discussion. Yes, sir. We would cover the rest of the sections in the next session.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.